Hey everyone, it is Evan here from the Trade Risk on Wednesday, January 16th. We are intraday right now, and this is our weekly trade ideas video where we bring you some of the names on our watch list, stocks that are holding up well, showing some relative strength, and are still in an actionable state. As always, these videos are powered by our partners over at Investors Business Daily, curating ideas based on their stock lists. Check them out with a link in the description of this video. Get access to some of the stock lists that they have over there. Now, again, before we sort of run into today's ideas, we got 5 names, 2 from IBD, 3 from our watch list over at the Trade Risk. Same kind of cautionary comment as last week is it is very difficult for me to want to chase new longs here, to get heavily exposed to the long side given the ground that we've covered to the upside, given the overall market environment. So with that in mind, we are looking at only long ideas in this video, but they're names that, again, for me anyway, I just want to pay attention to see if they'll set up, in a few days, in a week, when things sort of shift a little bit, have a little bit more time. That's where a lot of these names are going to be interesting to me. They're not, at least in my mind, names that I'm interested in running out and buying today. And with that said, of course, last week we had the same sort of cautionary tale out there saying, look, it's tough to want to buy new names, and it's a week later and the market has gone higher. So I guess take that with a grain of salt. But with that said, let's jump into some of the names we're looking at this week. First is Intel, INTC, and this one here will have earnings, I believe, next week. So do keep that in mind as well. But what we can see here is that Intel has been a sleeper here, hasn't really been a tremendous amount of relative strength here in the very near term, but it has in the more intermediate term carved out a pretty good base here now of support. Since August, it's been essentially moving sideways from mostly between around 45 to $49. We had a brief couple of times where it was under 45, but the stock quickly rallied back above it. So what we can see here is that if we zoom out, we have, sort of an overall uptrend. We have taken our time moving sideways now on the last couple of months here, but if, especially maybe earnings being the catalyst, this can start to clear through the highs here, start breaking above $50, suddenly we have a new sort of base of support to work with, and maybe Intel will be, on its way back to retest the June highs up around $57. Longer term pattern does have earnings as a catalyst coming up, so keep that in mind, but it is bumping up against resistance, so an area to pay attention to, and then how it reacts off of earnings, something I'd be interested in as well. Second name from IBD's list is AYX. So this one here, new name for me that I'm not familiar with, but you can see some great relative strength trading at all-time highs here. This is a smaller cap stock, about $4 billion in market cap. It broke out to new all-time highs just this week or last week, and you can see it is kind of consolidating now above this 63 sort of breakout area here. So looks interesting. I'd like this to get a little more time kind of moving sideways. It doesn't have earnings till late February, so there's some time here for this to potentially set up. Ideally holds above 63, and this one could be an interesting sort of follow-through play to the upside. Next up, WMGI. This one here, Right Medical, more a longer term play here as well. This comes from my watch list, but really since 2011 when this thing IPO'd, it hasn't really gone anywhere. It hasn't trended to the upside. It's essentially gone sideways between $15 and $30, and you can see it's back up to the upper end of this range. So this is really a longer term sort of look and a longer term name, but if we can start to clear above these recent highs in here, that's where this one starts to get interesting, as it has about 6 years of pent-up sideways action to potentially, kind of unleash to the upside, if you will. Again, gonna need a little more time with this, but WMGI, longer term play, thought it looked interesting for inclusion in this video. WWW, this one here had a nice, good kind of lengthy pullback. Is really filled in quite a bit, about 20% off of the highs that started in October. This one really hasn't, fully, kind of ripped to the upside here. It is still taking its time, but when we look here at a weekly chart, you can see it's been in this long-term uptrend since 2016, and it is trying to hold at this multi-year trend line. You could say it arguably, kind of briefly undercut it at the worst of this pullback, but now you can see it's starting to try and stabilize here. Price is getting tight. Earnings are in still over a month away, late February. So there's some time here. There's compression here, and there's some long-term trends at play. So WWW, I think this is an interesting one. If we can start to get a resolve above, say, $34 or $33.80 or so, and start making our way back up, that would be interesting. If we start, losing and making new lows here, breaking down below this multi-year trend line, then certainly all bets are off. Things look a little bit different if that scenario unfolds. Last but not least is COUP, C-O-U-P. This one here has been, again, firming up with this sideways movement since October. It did get, a pretty decent sized pullback off of the highs, almost 40%, 35 and change off of the highs made in September, but you can see buyers are consistently kind of showing up here at and under $60, and we are now trying to tackle resistance here today around $68. Earnings have been released in this name. It's not until March, it looks like, for COUP, so there's some time here. There's some support that's trying to really get demonstrated, resistance on its way or attempted to be taken out now. I'd like to see this just set up a little bit longer and then tackle this $70 level for a move back up towards the highs. Something I'm paying attention to. MACD making new highs here on the daily chart, but I'm looking for, hopefully, ideally, a little more time. But if it wants to run, then so be it. So COUP, that's the final idea from our watch list, and that wraps up 5 names. Again, keep the market environment in mind when you're thinking about these names. Know where you live, know your time frame, all of that, all of that important information that we try and remind everyone in every one of these videos. So thanks so much, as always, for watching. Good luck out there. Every Wednesday, we do the Trade Ideas videos. You can subscribe on YouTube or follow us on the Trade Risk blog. Thanks so much. Talk to you in the next video update.